Hey guys, it's Heather. Welcome to today's video. As you guys can see in the title of this video, today's video is going to be something a little personal, something a little different. I wanted to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about my journey, my current journey with IVF, and just do like a little chatty get ready with me and hopefully help other people out there that are maybe also on this journey, and just share my story and my support, and just let anyone else that's struggling out there or who's going through this. And if you are going through it, you know it's not easy. Just kind of wanted to share my support and my story. So yeah, let's get started. So I think we first started the IVF process back in like the end of May, early June time frame, and we met with the doctor and we had to have a bunch of testing done. So for like the female, it's an HSG or a FemView, which I was told that the FemView or the HSG, luckily I had the FemView done, but I was told that it was, especially the HSG, that it was like this barbaric procedure, that I was gonna be in so much pain just from like reading everything on the internet. And I was definitely nervous going into it, but the good thing about it is that when I had it done, I had my mom come with me. I was like so nervous that it was gonna be so painful. And it ended up being like, I don't even think it was a mild period cramp. I didn't really feel much at all. Yeah, I'm thinking the reason why it wasn't too bad was because I did have a baby, and I guess that maybe helped it, or I don't know, the doctor just said everybody's different. Some people may not think it's painful, others it's gonna be the worst pain they've ever had. So I had the FemView done, I had a bunch of blood testing done, I had an ultrasound done just to make sure that my uterus, my ovaries, everything was functioning properly. What I did find out in my blood test was that I had some chromosomal abnormalities, which would explain why prior to having my daughter, I did have 2 miscarriages. That's something that can be easily corrected from what the doctor says. So he put me on like a low dose aspirin for like a blood thinner, and then he put me on full guard. It's a little too much and too scientific to kind of go into exactly what he said about those abnormalities and why they cause miscarriages, but if you have any questions, just leave me a comment down below and I'd be happy to answer them for you. So once all of the blood tests, and after I had the FemView done and all the required testing done, we met back with the doctor to kind of discuss a plan and a protocol moving forward. Depending on insurance, it may require you to do like 3 rounds of IUI. If your insurance does cover IVF or a portion of IVF, you would have to go through that first. However, we are not candidates for IUI, so we were a mandate for IVF, so we were able to do the IVF right away. Once we sat down with the doctor, luckily our insurance is very good. So far out of pocket, I think it's been like $5,100, something like that, but we are choosing to have the eggs frozen, and I am also having the pre-genetic screening done on the embryos. That's kind of where some of those extra fees come into play, but fortunately our insurance is covering a big chunk, so we are very lucky for that. So once we sat down with the doctor and got the protocol, I had to wait to get like my natural period, got my period, then I had to begin birth control. I don't do well on birth control, so I opted to do the estrogen Provera route. So I was on the EYESHADOW, like the estrogen pills, for a couple of weeks. I can't remember exactly how long. And then I stopped those, and then I started the progesterone, and I was on that for 10 days. When I was on the estrogen, I felt like crap. I gained like 5 pounds and I was just so depressed, and I think maybe if I have to do this again, I might try birth control, but I feel like the birth control made me crazy. I just don't do well with hormones personally, so I just figured my safest route was just to go with straight hormones instead of doing birth control with the added crap. So once I started the Provera, like the 2nd or 3rd day, I felt back to myself. I felt a million times better. I did tell my doctor, and he was like, that's weird. Normally it's the other way around with estrogen and progesterone, but for me, it wasn't. So I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if that's happened to other people, but definitely comment down below. So the actual process began August 31st, which was when I was instructed to start the Lupron to downregulate me. So I started with 10 units of the Lupron, and I had to inject every morning between like 6 and 9 a.m. So everything is like super timed. They tell you exactly when to do it, and everything is communicated through the doctor's patient portal. So you get like instructions. And it was really scary because I had never administered medication on anyone, let alone giving myself injections. Once you do it a couple times, it's super easy. I feel like I don't even think about it now, but it is definitely really intimidating. They just linked videos on the patient portal of basically how to do it. Luckily for me, I have one of my best friends is a nurse, my grandmother is a nurse, my sister-in-law is a nurse, so I had a lot of people that were offering to help me, which was great. And the first time I did it, I just said to my friend, I said, hey, would you mind if I came over and I want to do it, but I want you to just watch me do it and make sure that I'm doing it right. So these injections were just like the subcutaneous ones. So just squeeze like a 2-inch kind of fold of fat on your abdomen, and then you just put the needle in. It's super easy. So I was doing the 10 units every morning of the Lupron for like 6 days. And then on September 7th, I had to go down to doing 5 units of the Lupron in the morning. And I had to go into the office that morning, and they did an ultrasound, and just to make sure that my ovaries looked good, there weren't any cysts growing or anything like that. So on that Friday, I started my stim meds, and I was definitely nervous because I was like, how are these gonna make me feel? You know, you hear stories and whatnot. So I was on Gonal F, which is like Follistim. It's a pre-filled ready eject pen, super easy to use, foolproof. So that was really easy. He had me start at 150 units of that, and that's at night. So those ones you do in between 6 and 9. So immediately following doing the Gonal F, I did the Menopure, and it was like 75 units. You just have to reconstitute the powder into the liquid, and they give you like a really easy, it's called a Q cap, and it was really easy to use. So that wasn't bad. The first, I'd say like 4 or 5 days weren't bad. It was after that I started getting really bad bruises. I started kind of switching up my injection sites. I would do like my upper thigh, and then I started doing like the sides, like my love handles. But one time when I was doing my upper thigh, I must have hit a blood vessel, and it started like pouring blood out, and I started kind of freaking out. So that was the last time I did it in my upper thigh. But yeah, so definitely covered in bruises. I will show you a picture of some of the bruises that I got. It's just par for the course. I just kind of kept reminding myself, this isn't forever. It's just for, you know, a couple weeks or whatever, and then it'll all be over. So I started on Friday to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I needed to be in the doctor's office Monday morning. They have everyone go between like 7 and 8 right before work. They give you an ultrasound, and they do your blood work. They want to see how the follicles are developing. They want to check your estrogen levels. They want to check your luteinizing hormone. They want to check your progesterone levels, just to make sure everything is looking how they want it to be looking. So I went in Monday morning. Tuesday I didn't have to go in. Wednesday morning I had to go in. So I was in Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning. So every day they would put the results up on the patient portal. So they told you how many follicles you had. I had 10 growing on each side. They were a really good size. So I kind of knew, okay, I have to be getting close. And by Friday, I had had enough. I was just ready to be done. So then on Saturday, I went in, I saw the doctor, and he said, everything looks to be pretty good. We just have to wait and see what your estrogen levels come back at. And we'll probably have you do your trigger shot tonight, and then you'll have your retrieval done Monday morning. Because with this whole process, it's kind of like a wait and see. It's a day by day, which can be really hard with work. The good thing is that they have you in first thing in the morning, and then they have you out. But if you do have a schedule where you travel for work, like I was away for work the week before I started my stim medications, and the timing just happened to work out good. Because there was no way that I would be able to be in the office every morning for blood work and an ultrasound. So it is tedious. You are there every day at a certain point. You're doing like 3 shots a day. I'm on other medication. I'm on cabergoline because my prolactin levels are super high. My pituitary gland secretes extra prolactin. So I'm also on Dostinex and I'm on a few other things. So it's just been a lot of medications. Back to Saturday morning. So I'm there Saturday morning. Everything's looking good. I get the call like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon saying everything's looking good. We're gonna do your egg retrieval on Monday. I was advised to administer my trigger shot, which is the HCG shot, at exactly 8:30 p.m. that night. They said don't do it a minute early, don't do it a minute late. It needs to be done exactly when they say it needs to be done. So I called my grandmother, who's a nurse, because the HCG that I was given had to be done intramuscularly in my glute, and I just did not feel comfortable doing it myself. I figured if I have a nurse in my family, why not reach out to them and ask them to do it for me? So my grandmother was able to do it for me, and we did it at exactly 8:30. So that next morning, on Sunday morning, I had to go in and just make sure that I responded to the medication and that my HCG level was where the doctor needed it to be, which was, I think, somewhere between like 200 and 400 range. And I got a call from my doctor that afternoon, and he said to me, "Hey Heather, it's Dr. blah, blah, blah. Just wondering, did you have any problems administering the HCG injection?" I said, "No, not at all. Like, I was able to mix it fine. You know, I've reconstituted other things. My grandmother's a nurse. Everything was fine. I had her give me the injection. She knows what she's doing." He said, "Well, we're not seeing any HCG in your system." I think it was, I'll tell you right now, I'll look it up on my phone. So it came back at 0.337, and he said, "I need you to come in. Can you be here in a half hour?" Luckily, I didn't go anywhere with my daughter. We didn't do anything that morning, so I was able to jump right in my car and head down there. So I get there, I meet with the nurse and the doctor, and they're like, "Listen, we're gonna have you do another trigger tonight. We don't know what happened. We don't know if it was a bad lot," which definitely happens. This was a lyophilized powder that I used with bacteriostatic water, and you just had to reconstitute, switch out the needles, super easy. I had been doing it. I've done it for work. I know what I'm doing. I knew it wasn't something that was like a human error type of a thing. And he said, sometimes this does happen. Just like with anything, you know, these drugs could have been a bad batch. So I said, okay, fine. My biggest concern was that we'd have to scrap the whole thing. I didn't know what to expect. I had a friend that went through IVF. She said, "Oh, I don't know, like that didn't happen." So then I went on, of course I started Googling it, and you know, you hear all these stories. So luckily they told me, go home. They gave me 2 pre-filled syringes of Overdrel, which is an HCG injection as well. These ones just go in subcutaneously. They said just give it to yourself, administer it right in the abdomen. So I did 1 on each side. Each one was 5,000 units. I needed 10,000 units total. I gave myself the shots exactly at 9:15. Then the next morning I was due back in for blood work. So I go back in Monday morning, which was the day that I was originally supposed to have my egg retrieval done that morning, and I got a call back that afternoon that everything was good. My HCG was up to 227 or something like that, so it was where it needed to be, which was really good. And my estrogen level was around 4,500, so that was ideal and where they wanted it. And for anyone that's like wondering what's a trigger shot, why do you need it? Basically, when you're doing all the stim medications, ideally they want to see your ovaries have a bunch of follicles on each side, and each one of those follicles, ideally they would like it to contain a mature egg. So the HCD is the trigger, which is the same hormone that you're releasing in pregnancy when you're growing a baby. So it's gonna make you ovulate and release that mature egg, if that makes sense. So that's why they give it to you. I still think the whole thing is like crazy and super fascinating. So anyway, I was good to go for Tuesday morning. Everything was good to go. I wasn't super nervous. I'm not really a go with the flow type of person. I'm more of like a planner. I like want everything planned out, but in this whole process, I just told myself, like, listen, you better go with the flow because things are not gonna work out the way you want them to, and I'm just trying to have an open mind, and you just never know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna fill in some of these sparser areas in my eyebrows because they're driving me nuts. So I went in and my egg retrieval was exactly at 9:15 on Tuesday morning because they want it 36 hours apart. So I did my trigger shot at 9:15 p.m. on Sunday night. So then 36 hours later is when they would do the egg retrieval. The whole process was like pretty simple. I had the IV put in, the anesthesiologist administered the propofol, which I feel like she should have warned me. Sometimes I think that they use like a lidocaine to kind of numb it. But she administered the propofol and it literally felt like acid was going into my vein. And I just said to her, listen, I'm having some burning. I think it's from the medication. And she was like, oh, sorry about that. But then like literally before I knew it, I was like, boom, passed out. So it didn't even matter. Although I did wake up and my IV was in this hand, which you can see they definitely nicked the vein. They got me pretty good. I wanted to go with like a purpley shade here, but they're not really what I was looking for, but we'll make it work. So when I woke up, it was pretty, I wasn't like too out of it. I wasn't in too much pain, just some like cramping, nothing crazy. I would say like on a scale of like 1 to 10, maybe a 2. But they also gave me like some Tylenol and stuff like that. But it wasn't too bad. It was just kind of like just crampy and, you know, uncomfortable. What you would expect if someone was taking a needle and inserting it into a follicle in your ovary and then pulling stuff out. So the doctor told me everything was great. I think he was expecting to get like 15 eggs. I got 20 eggs. I went home. I took some Tylenol. I was able to move around. And, you know, I wasn't jumping around, but I was able to move around. And it wasn't too bad. So then the next morning I woke up, I got like those heating pads. I forget who makes them. I can link them down below. But you can just get them at Walmart or any drugstore, Target, whatever. And they're just for like menstrual cramps. I put that on. I took a Tylenol. They did give me Tylenol with codeine, but I just don't like the way it makes me feel. So I just took the regular Tylenol like maybe once and I was fine. It wasn't until Thursday. So I had the procedure done on Tuesday. It wasn't until Thursday that I was like, oh my God, I am so uncomfortable. I'm not talking 9 months pregnant uncomfortable. I'm talking an uncomfortable that I could have never even imagined. Like barely able to even breathe. Just the worst feeling in the world. I'm like, this cannot be normal. Like it cannot be normal. So normally my waist, like around my belly button area, is like 25 inches. I took a measuring tape and I measured it. It was almost 35 inches. 48 hours after the procedure. I was told that there was gonna be some bloating. I know everyone's different, but I look 6 months pregnant, easy. I could compare pregnancy pictures of when I had my daughter. It was just unreal. I didn't have a scale, so I had my husband run to Walmart and buy me one because those were the signs to look for. And if you've gained more than 10 pounds in a day, you know, if you're out of breath, if you're nauseous, every single sign of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, I was getting. So I got the scale, I got on the scale. I'm normally between 118, 119, and 122, and I think maybe the day before retrieval, I was up to 124, which is totally normal. I was on a ton of stim medications and hormones, and that's your body's gonna, that's gonna happen. I got on the scale, and I was 137 pounds. I had gained 14 pounds in probably 2 days, maybe even a day, because the day after the procedure, I wasn't that bloated. It was crazy. So I called the doctor and he's like, yeah, you're probably just having some like mild ovarian, you know, your ovaries are the size of grapefruits when normally I think they're the size of like walnuts. Just very uncomfortable, couldn't sit, couldn't move. Like I was crying because of how uncomfortable I felt. It wasn't like stabbing pains. It wasn't like my ovaries were on fire or I was having twisting or torsion, I guess it's called. It was just this uncomfortable every time I moved, it felt like someone punched me in the stomach. Like I just couldn't breathe. And just super, super out of breath, like not normal out of breath. So I called my doctor again yesterday because at this point I was feeling faint. I was feeling lightheaded. Normally I have pretty low blood pressure. I can run 90/60, like I can run really low. So I thought that, you know, maybe, oh, okay, it's just like my blood pressure. Sometimes I stand up and I feel a little faint, whatever. But I was feeling worried. So I called the doctor and he said, okay, come in, like, can you come right now? And I said, yes. My mom was in the area. I had her take me to the doctor because I felt like I couldn't drive. So I went to the doctor, he examined me and he said, I want you to go to the emergency department. I'm gonna call ahead. I'm going to order a CBC, an ultrasound, and some fluids because he thought maybe you're just super dehydrated as well and you'll feel better. And I think they just wanted to rule out a couple other things that could happen. So I ended up being at the hospital for a good portion of yesterday, just getting fluids and stuff. And I definitely felt better after I got the fluids, but there's not much that they can do. It's just kind of like a wait and see. So today I'm still feeling like, you can probably hear me kind of huffing and puffing. I still feel like, you probably can't tell that I've gained, probably like in the past month, I've gained 15 pounds or so. But if I stood here, I'll stand up right now so you can see what I'm talking about. I brought my maternity clothes down from the attic so that I would have something to wear to be a little bit more comfortable. But literally, like, this was the equivalent of how I looked when I was 5 months pregnant. It's definitely a little bit better than yesterday, but I'm just curious. Comment down below if anyone else has gone through this process and had ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome and to what degree, because I know it can be a lot worse. Tomorrow will be day 5, so I'm just hoping that it doesn't get any worse. I've been praying every night because I know some really scary things can kind of happen. But as of right now, I'm just kind of grateful that everything is okay and that fluid isn't in my lungs and that I don't have ovarian torsion. I know that obviously those things are a lot worse, but I just feel like I never thought it would be like this. I remember the day I woke up and I texted my friend and I said to her, hey, do you think that this is like normal? And she said to me, no, like that didn't happen to me. Like I was a little bloated, but nothing like that. So I think she kind of knew what was going on, and definitely said, yeah, you should definitely reach out to the doctor. And he just said, unfortunately, somewhere between like 3 to 5% of people going through IVF that this happens to. So I'm just gonna continue to push through and hopefully every day gets a little bit better. He just told me to pound like a ton of fluids and I just have to wait for my ovaries to go down. I mean, they're the size of grapefruits. That's crazy town. And then the doctor just gave me some Zofran that I can take when I feel nauseous. And I just kind of go and get checked out and monitored. Normally they would do the embryo transfer. Well, for me, they were gonna do the embryo transfer on day 5. Day 5 would be tomorrow. But we have elected to get the pre-genetic screening done on the embryos if they are strong enough to undergo being biopsied and then frozen and then thawed. As of right now, I will not know until tomorrow morning. So the plan was to have that done. The way he described it to me is that there's varsity embryos and there's JV embryos. The varsity embryos are the embryos that can take a hit, meaning they can be biopsied. They can handle being frozen, they can handle being thawed. And then there's the JV, or like the weaker embryos that can't handle all of that. So he would just kind of pick the best one and then implant it. So with that said, tomorrow, if there wasn't any varsity embryos that we could send out to be biopsied, he was going to do the transfer. But because of my condition, it's not a good idea for him to do that. So we're not gonna do that. So because what would happen is if he were to plant that embryo back in and it took, my body is going to produce HCG, and that's that same hormone that's created the condition that I have going on right now. So that would just exacerbate it and make things worse, which I definitely don't want. So as much as I want to be pregnant and, you know, have a baby, it's just not the right timing right now. So we have to kind of wait and see what happens. So as I mentioned earlier, they got 20 eggs from me. The doctor called me the next day to let me know 18 are mature, which is awesome. And he also let me know that you have 13 embryos. So 13 of those eggs got fertilized and they were developing properly. Then I talked to him today and he said, as of today, we have 12 embryos that are developing properly, and he feels like they're very strong and that he'll definitely have ones that he'll be able to send out to biopsy. So I'm pretty excited about that. I just really hope that tomorrow morning he calls me and tells me that, you know, you have X amount of healthy embryos and we can send them out and everything's good. Because otherwise, I'm not really sure what would happen if there weren't any. I don't know if they can still freeze them or what. I guess I have to talk to him about that. But yeah, so that's where I'm at so far. I will continue to kind of update you on this process. If you're interested, just let me know below. But again, I just wanted to share my story because I feel like a lot of people, everybody has to be perfect, you know, and no, that's not how it is. Things happen, and I'd rather share my story if I can help someone else or make someone else feel comfortable or like they're not alone. But I think if I could offer any advice or support, I would just say to just kind of relax, and whatever's meant to happen is gonna happen. I'm trying not to set my expectations too high on anything. That way I won't be disappointed, and just try not to compare yourself to other people and get caught up in so-and-so's having a kid and this and that, because everybody's on their own path. You don't know what they're going through or what other struggles they may have that you don't have. So I would just say to just kind of, you know, focus on yourself, and it will hopefully happen when it's meant to happen. And that's kind of what I've been saying to myself, and I'm just trying to enjoy the whole process. I just think that we're all super fortunate for science and the advancements and the opportunities that it has given for us, and all the different things that it can do to help people. So yeah, if you are struggling, just try to keep faith and try not to get frustrated with yourself, and I guess that's kind of all I can really say. And just keep trying and don't give up. I'm gonna try this new lip kit that I got, the Coco Pay. I feel like I had it. Or maybe I had the lip gloss. And I also wanted to make this video to kind of explain why I've been slowing down a little bit with my videos. I think I used to do like 2 a week, now I've been doing 1 a week. It's just because I have a lot going on with this process. I have a full-time job. I do this as a hobby and I love to do it, but I just kind of wanted to explain why I haven't been able to pump out 2 a week. It's just been a lot, and I'm in the process of moving. So there's a lot going on, a lot of exciting things going on. Ooh, this smells like so good. I love this. Just gonna set my face here. You know what, I'm gonna add a little inner corner highlight, because why not? I'm feeling like I need a little something extra. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video, not to get too personal, because I'm not gonna get into the specific reasons about, you know, why we need IVF or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to share my story and help anyone that may be going through what I'm going through. Maybe they don't have a ton of support, maybe they feel alone. And just to let them know that they're not alone. And yeah, that's really it. Not to be too cheesy, but that's kind of why I'm doing this. I'll do a follow-up video to this one if you guys want, and update you on the progress of my IVF if that's something that you're interested in. And if you have any questions, just definitely comment down below. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. And I hope everyone has a great day. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.